I'm continuing the interview with Andy Alley. This is tape number 4. We're in the HR room. The date is 6th of March 2006. The time is 1:42 p.m. The people in the room are the same as those in the room before the tape change.
Okay, Andy, you're taking us on to look at the 5 complaints, but I said I had some general questions about this first. Which is really around, are you really saying to us that these 5 individuals conspired together to make their original complaints against you, and that those complaints are false? And if that is the case, why should these 5 people work together like this to conspire against you? Was there a reason they disliked you? What have you done to incur their dislike? And what did they have to gain by making these, what you say, are false complaints? It's that sort of issue that I'm interested in.
Well, based on the evidence I've got, I've not been made aware of all the facts, and until I am, you know, I'm not able to give a full and complete answer.
No.
But based on the material I've got, I put in a complaint against Anthony. I sent an email to Anthony saying he was manipulating the statistics. It's a long time now, sort of precise wording.
1 minute.
I'm sorry to stop you, but I think it's important that we address that whilst you've mentioned it.
Yeah.
And that is that, so far as I can see from the investigators' papers and everything else that I've read, nobody has managed to trace that complaint against Anthony Stansfield about manipulating statistics.
1 minute.
Well,
30 seconds.
That's a matter of opinion. I believe they did trace it, and it's been deleted, and it's been got rid of. I've got email that shows you can permanently delete emails from the system here. Well, it goes like this. It's deleted, it goes up to backup files for about 5 or 7 weeks, and then it's deleted permanently. And I'll explain something about this emails, if I can, in here. According to the, if you can just give me a minute to find it, because it's important.
2 minutes 30 seconds.
Do you want to stop the tape?
Yeah, can you just give me a sec? It's important. It's a very important piece, this, because
it's 1:44.
I'm stopping the
2
tape.
minutes 40 seconds.
I'm continuing the interview with Andy Alley. The date is the 6th of March 2006. The time is 1:45 p.m. The persons in the room are the same as those who were in the room at the time of the break.
Okay, we're looking at the complaint you say you made against Anthony Stansfield about manipulating statistics, and you've referred us to 6.13 of the report.
Yeah, I'm going to quote you now.
10 seconds.
It says the investigators did not go into any further detail relating to the allegations of manipulation of tax credit records which the PCA put forward.
20 seconds.
The investigators found no evidence of the email which the PCA claims to have sent to the PCA. Nor did the investigators find any evidence whatsoever of any deleted emails. The final email that the PCA sent appears to have been relatively innocuous and nothing on the scale claimed. The investigators found no evidence in PCA's personal folder of the statistical evidence he claims to have retained in order to prove his allegations. Nor was there any evidence from complainant ones or any of the people interviewed that the PCA was making such a claim. Bearing all of these in mind, the investigators did not feel such an in-depth investigation was warranted. Well, if they didn't commit an in-depth investigation, is it hard?
So, I mean, what you seem to be saying is that these 5 individuals, I've used the word conspired together, but maybe conspiracy is a bit strong. But
no, it's quite
okay,
right.
Fine, okay. Why should they have done that?
Well, until you give me all the evidence, I can't give you an exact answer because I'm not aware of all the facts. But before this, we've established that I have put in a complaint against Phil Davis. You've seen it?
Yeah, and then said that you weren't proceeding with it, yeah.
But I have put in a complaint against him.
Yes.
So when Dave King and Janet Robinson said there was no evidence they came together, this is evidence that they did.
And you could actually say that that is harassment in itself, where a team are talking about a colleague when they are not present. That is harassment in its purest form.
Where's this leading us, Andy?
Well, I'm going through the complaints so I can give you the points. Let me give you here.
I'm not sure I want you to go through the complaints.
Well,
My
I feel I need to.
My concern with this is that I am constrained to deal with certain aspects in this investigation, and I'm concerned that you're wasting time by enlarging it.
You hear what I have to say, and then you decide, rather than before I've decided.
32 minutes, 10 seconds.
Lastly, finding out a little of Mr. Ali's history within customer services.
32 minutes,
Again,
30 seconds.
you know, when's he found out? What's he found out? Who's he found it out by? I feel that our team has in fact been let down by the department in much as we or our managers were not made aware of behaviour that could have had a very negative effect on staff. I feel that this man is a very dangerous, I want you to remember the word dangerous, self-centred, selfish individual who will try any trick or stunt to get his way, and we should not have exposed ourselves to him. We have come to do a day's work and not feel angry or stressed. Having a back problem stresses me. Stress for me translating into pain. I do not need it. This complaint is not on the form that you're supposed to use.
No.
Well, one of the reasons I've told my complaints not being investigated is because I didn't use the correct form.
There's no actual requirement to use the form, it's an encouragement to use the form.
Well, I hope you will pass that on to Frances Pugh, because I've been told that one of the reasons my complaint, because I've not used the required form. Where's the complaint? But one of the requirements is you've got to say when it happened, the complaint, when these things happened. It doesn't say when the bullying happened.
No.
And I think we need to decide, is that letter, is that complaint from himself or is it from the team? Because if it's from himself, there's nothing in there which is a complaint from himself, because he's very, very careful at referring to we and then I when he wants to. Because he's referring to I in the way that's what's up with him, but everything else is referred to as we. And there's no complaint in there. That document is worth one thing, and that's putting on the file.
34 minutes.
So where's the complaint? The correct procedures is not followed on Phil Davis's complaint. And basically you ask, why would people put in complaints against me? Well, from Phil Davis's complaint we learn a few things. First of all, there's been a discussion about me behind my back. There had to be, you know, information has been given to him about when I was at customer services. He doesn't follow the correct procedures. He doesn't say what the bullying, for example, when it happened, when it took place. There's no evidence I was actually at work when he says it took place, because he doesn't give the date.
No.
And there's no point to civil service coming back with me a date now, because I can only answer I was only investigated for what was on here and there was not a date given. So basically the fact of the matter is the civil service can't actually say I was at work when the allegations put in this complaint took place. That's true, is it not?
Well, since there were no dates, it followed.
So basically the fact of the matter is...
But I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of this is your word against somebody else's word. In the sense of what their recollections.
This is where it becomes very dodgy, because as yet, as we said earlier, all we've had is substantial. There's been no hard fact. So yeah, I do agree that it's one person's word against another. Until there's hard fact produced, we're in a position where Andy's getting punished.
Yeah.
And other people are allowed to go around free will saying what they are, which, to tell you the truth, some of it is really bordering on defamation of character, to tell you the truth. It's these people that should be investigated with the fact that we've produced, not Andy, that should be investigated with pure admissible evidence.
Is the civil service view then that I'm now facing disciplinary action because I may have done these things?
I don't know at the moment why you're facing disciplinary action, because we haven't seen enough documentation to establish what lies
But
behind it.
the fact of the matter is this: the civil service say I may have been at the fact. Let me give you some facts here. I may have been at work when these things may have been said, and people may have overheard them. But the fact is, the people who put in the complaints cannot give a date when these took place. So they can't even say they themselves were at work. That's a bit tough to go through this, face possibly losing your job, getting knocked down a grade simply because you may have been at work.
Being off with stress.
Yeah.
Okay, you've made your point.
Right.
36 minutes, 50 seconds.
But it does establish that Phil Davis holds a grudge for putting in.
Well, you can read that into it.
37 minutes.
Well, read it there.
Establish it.
Isn't the role of decision makers to establish facts?
The role of decision makers is to make a decision based upon the evidence in front of them.
It could be presumed then, or it could be seen, that Phil has an issue with Andy which he has not addressed in the correct way of trying to sort the issues out. He obviously does have a problem with issue with Andy, whether it be a grudge or whatever. He has not tried to address it in the correct way of going through the grievance and sitting down with Andy. He's decided to go another way of doing it while levying things on Andy which aren't true. So once again, it should be Phil that's investigated it and not Andy.
37 minutes.
And it makes you wonder why the white complainants are all being believed on the basis of what may have happened, and I wasn't as an Asian guy, simply because white complainants all came together. But if you take that complaint on its own and you don't link it to the other complaints, the fact of the matter, what this establishes, procedure wasn't followed, which discriminated against me because it shouldn't have been allowed then. Phil can't give a date when it happened, and he doesn't actually say what actually happened, apart from, in some cases, he may have bullied.
Okay.
So that's Nicholas Ivor. Can we take his complaint?
Yes.
I'm quoting, no date given, so we don't know what date it was made. Oh, by the way, why was Phil Davis's complaint treated as equal opportunities?
I haven't looked.
He's not even making a complaint against me. He says my behaviour against him. So why was it treated as an equal opportunities?
Well, we know that the 5 complaints were all treated together in the sense of
They were.
investigation. Yeah. Well, in the sense that we have one set of investigators investigating all 5.
But where are the complaints in this from Phil that pertain what Andy's being accused of? There's nothing in there. There's nothing in there which accuses Andy of sexual harassment, of backing suicide bombers. That's nothing in there.
The reasons you gave before for equal opportunities were twofold. Why it was being investigated for equal opportunities was because of sexual harassment, and the other one was
with the race.
the race.
Nothing in there.
Where's the sexual harassment in there, and where's the race?
I can't recall.
Well, then let me have another look. Point it out to me.
I'm not here to be interrogated myself. I mean, what I've said to you is that the fact remains that these 5 complaints were investigated together. Whether that was the right decision or the wrong decision is an aspect that perhaps should be part of our investigation, and I fully accept that.
We'll come to...
I'm not going to speculate as to why they were investigated together because I'm not in a position to do so.
50 seconds.
I did a minute ago. It's from Angela Main Thompson. Oh, I think we've got it. I'll come back to it in a sec. Nicholas Ivor, let's get on to his complaint. Dear Carol, I wish to make a formal complaint against one of my colleagues, Mr. Andrew Ali. The background to this case is that I trained Mr. Ali for several months when he was obliged to join my section in 2002. After training, I continued to sit next to Mr. Ali until the start of his extended sick leave. Many incidents have annoyed me after years' exposure to Mr. Ali's behaviour. My patience has finally gone, and I have decided to complain about the following offensive incidents. There's no date on this. Not a clue when this was put in.
Just before you go on any further, Andy, it is written down in the guide that I believe that if you have an issue with colleagues, they should be brought up within 3 months. Now, by him saying he's gone down with lots of problems after a year's exposure to Mr. Ali, I'm sorry, if you've got a problem with someone, you can't be coming back a year after. It's clearly written down that it should be 3 months, so that in itself is ridiculous.
Right. And then it says September 2002. We're going back even longer. During one-to-one training with me, shortly after his arrival on assurance and conformance, Mr. Ali embarked on an extended rant about the Arab-Israeli conflict. This rant was unsolicited by me. I wanted to talk about the Working Families Tax Credit. The conclusion of the speech, during which I kept a some silence, was, my memory is exact, I support the suicide bombers. I was very angry, but in the interest of good relations during training, I hid my anger and insisted on talking about work. There were no witnesses to this rant, but other colleagues will testify that Mr. Ali was never resident about expressing political views, which was being kept to himself. How does he know what other will testify?
41 minutes, 50 seconds.
Of course, Mr. Ali is free to hold whatever political opinions he wishes. He is not, however, entitled to rant and rave at will, heedless of his colleagues' feeling. I, for one, wish to put my anger on the record. He says September 2002. He doesn't give a date. There's no evidence. We come back to you.
You've made your point about dates. You don't need to.
But it's very important.
Yes.
I'm giving you a fact. The fact is, the civil service are saying I may have committed these offences, but I may not even have been in the tax credit office when they were.
No, the position is that certain individuals have made allegations about things that you have said at dates unspecified. Having got that as the starting point, the role of the investigator is to try and establish, I mean, ideally when those things happened, but if not, then to establish that those things did happen on a balance of probabilities, that it is more likely that those things happened than that they didn't happen.
More likely? You're saying that I could face disciplinary action because it's more likely it happened?
Shall we change the tape?
Yeah, about to turn the tape off, and the time is 2:30 p.m.